In episode 145 of the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, we meet with Allie Hamilton and discuss her book, Yoga's Healing Power, Looking Inward for Change, Growth, and Peace. The show notes for this episode are posted at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/145. Have you decided you're ready to make a change? To reclaim your health and fitness? The 40 Plus Fitness Podcast is here for you. I'm your host, Alan Meisner. I'm an NSAM certified personal trainer with a specialization in corrective exercise and fitness nutrition. Let me be your coach as you find your way on your health and fitness journey. All right, let's go. There is still time for you to join us on the 30-Day Sugar Detox Challenge, which runs from September 1st to the 30th. Take the challenge to be a better you tomorrow. Allie Hamilton found yoga during her senior year at Columbia University. Not only was the physical challenge appealing, she discovered yoga was a way of being, not just stretching on the floor. In 2001, she moved to California to check out the yoga scene. She now teaches yoga and writes articles, books, and on the blog at yogaisanonymous.com. So Allie, welcome to 40 Plus Fitness.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm kind of excited to have you here too, because I really did enjoy your book, Yoga's Healing Powers. So thank you for sharing that with me. I've already kind of introduced you to the audience, and so we know who you are. But in a general sense, if you wanted to tell us just kind of maybe one thing about you that a lot of people don't know about you, what would you share?
I think that I would say that I consider myself a 97% recovered type A personality on a good day.
97%, that's good. That's
good, right?
That's awesome. Yes, because I took off 1% and I thought I was like killing it.
Well, it's 25 years later, it's a yoga every day, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I don't quite have that practice yet, but that's why I really enjoyed your book, because it was I felt like it was a good way to look at yoga from kind of a balanced perspective. This is more than just exercise. And I think a lot of us that are outside of the yoga circle just see yoga as, okay, I'm going in to stretch and I'm going in to do these things. And yeah, they're gonna talk about ohms, and they're gonna talk about our breathing, and they're gonna get into these other esoteric things that really I don't care about. But I'm just there to get more flexible because I'm not flexible, and that's why I'm there, which is a great reason to start. Don't get me wrong.
I agree.
But there's so much more to yoga, and you get into it in your book, which I really appreciate.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head there, because by and large, most people that come in are coming in for the physical benefits. And, years ago, that used to bum me out a little bit. Like, people just they're just here because they want arms like Jennifer Aniston, And then over time, I stopped worrying about that, because I feel like the deeper aspects of the practice that can really help people in their lives, like that stuff seeps in. So it's great. You get the chaturanga arms, and you get the strong core, and you get the increase in flexibility, which I think is really essential as we get older. People who are athletic, so important to put some stretching in your mix, but the stress reduction, anxiety reduction tools for shifting the relationship that you're having with yourself are there. And that's what I wanted to share in the book, because I feel like, culturally we're external, we tend to pay attention to how things look, and that's fine. But I think if you get on Instagram and you look at like yogis, you might come away with the idea that it's about being on a yacht in Bali with your ankle behind your head, and not really understand, like, what does this have to do with my life and my kids screaming in the back seat, or my deadlines at work, or my financial pressures, or my relationship struggles? How does this really apply to me if I can't touch my toes or, I don't want to eat granola all day and chant, like what is useful here? And there's so much that's really practical.
Well, it's one of the funny things is, I tell my clients, I said, okay, you give me 3% of your time, but you want 100% of your results. And, one of the things I really do like about yoga is that you have a conversation during yoga and there's a teaching during yoga that's kind of a little different, that if people will really walk away from those sessions with the relaxation, with the better sleep, with their better mobility, with better strength, there's a huge opportunity there for them to live a better life because they're hitting on so many great aspects of life.
Yeah. I totally agree. And I think, like, for me personally, because it's been 25 years I've been practicing now. I started when I was 20. I was in my senior year at, college. And what I have found is that, there's that saying, like, how you do anything is how you do everything. And I really think it's true. So whatever your tendencies are in life, they follow you onto your mat. And we all have habits and ideas and things we tell ourselves that are strengthening. And we also have habits and ideas and things we tell ourselves that are weakening. And you have an opportunity when you're, in this quiet space and you're just paying attention to your breath and sensation in the body to really observe, what are the habits that might be weakening me? How do I respond to challenge, to confrontation, to fear? What happens for me in those moments? And are there things I can shift about the way I relate to that stuff? Because it's not just going to happen on the mat, it's going to happen in my life.
Yeah. And so I think that's one of the core points is, as we look at life and as we look at why we go into yoga or a practice like that. And sorry, my little poodle is going nuts on a little animal toy.
That is okay.
She's like the most violent dog I've ever seen, if she could be violent, because she's this little teeny thing, 6 pounds, but she's having fun right now. So I'm not gonna break up her chi.
No.
So anyway, I'll admit I'm a Westerner, and so I'm a Western. I'm a Southern guy. I kind of come from this traditional background of lift weights, do this, do that. Yeah, the guys who do gymnastics are great. The guys who do the martial arts are great. The people who do yoga are great. But I have my thing, and I think everybody should find their thing. Yoga is something that I've tried, but I've always thought of it, or predominantly thought of it, and I'll admit this, open kimono, which is not quite yoga, but whatever. That I always looked at it as a physical practice. And kind of what I like that you brought out was that the physical practice is really kind of only one channel, or as you call it, one limb or path of how this all works. There's 8 of them. Do you mind taking a little bit of time to talk us through what those other 7 paths would be?
I don't mind at all. That's really what the book is about. So the first 2, and it's called an 8-limbed path, right? So the first 2 limbs are made up of what is called the yama and niyama, which is basically like yoga's version of the 10 commandments, or, yoga's shalls and shall nots, or however you want to look at it. But really, at the core of any spiritual tradition, you're going to find something like that. I'm not going to kill, I'm not going to steal, I'm not going to covet. It's the same idea, but these are really open to anybody of any denomination, any faith, any religion, size, shape, color, creed. It's not, you don't have to be praying to Hindu deities or anything like that. So I just wanted to make that really clear. So the first are the 5 yamas, which are known as like the commitments or the restraints. And the first one of those is called ahimsa, which means non-violence or non-harming. And so you might think like, oh, it's really obvious. I'm not going to hurt anybody. That's pretty clear. But it also has to do with, how are you treating yourself? And a lot of people struggle with that sort of inner voice, that loud inner critic. And I know a lot about that. I had that, as I was saying to you earlier, like type A personality, perfectionist thing. And so for me, I always set the bar so high I was constantly disappointed in myself. And I lived with that inner dialogue 24/7. So that is part of ahimsa, of non-harming. I mean, that's not, you have to turn it toward yourself as well. It's not just how you're treating other people. And all of these have like a similar dynamic that way where, it might seem obvious at the outset. And then when you start thinking about, okay, how do I apply these things practically, it shifts a little bit. The second one is truthfulness, satya. And, it's not just about saying what's true, but it's also recognizing what's true for you. And sometimes we have like self-deception, we know something in our gut or in our hearts, but like we're not ready to accept it yet. We know if we start to acknowledge what we're feeling, things are going to have to change. And so we're not communicating clearly, or we're not being honest with ourselves, or, you might find yourself in a job that's crushing and, but you need to keep a roof over your head. So it's that kind of truthfulness where at least what we're trying to do is look at like, what is real for me? Then I'll figure out what I'm going to do about it. But at least let me identify like how I feel and what is my particular truth, or recognize what's true for someone else. It might be very different than my way of thinking, but let me at least recognize that. The third of the yam is non-stealing, asteya. And again, obvious, you're not going to walk into a store and like steal an apple, right? But you're also not going to steal somebody's time by being chronically late. You're not going to like always leave your friends sitting at restaurants for 15 minutes waiting for you, or you're not going to steal somebody's energy. If you can see that somebody needs to go, you're not going to keep talking or move on to the next topic. Brahmacharya is the fourth one, and it means they're different. The traditional definition is abstinence or chastity. And I do teacher trainings, so I have people who come, they want to teach yoga, and a lot of them are young, in their 20s, and you get to this yama and everybody's like, oh, I don't want to do that one. So the modern sort of definition interpretation is, if you're in a relationship, you're not going to be irresponsible with your sexual energy. You're not going to be allowing online flirtations to develop, or, flirting with somebody online at Whole Foods. You're going to like channel your sexual energy toward your partner. And if you're not in a relationship and you're out there dating, you're going to be kind to people. You're not going to lead people on, or, date somebody when you're not really into it and they're in love with you, that kind of thing.
Well, I think a lot of that actually still happens when we're in our 40s and beyond is, we have this desire. And so as we try to take our emotions, I think that one's kind of valuable because we want to be seen. We want to be valuable. And, we've gone through this process as we've aged of maybe not feeling so good about ourselves. So when we get that level of appreciation, it's really hard for us to kind of maintain and, basically realize that, okay, I can appreciate that comment or appreciate what that does and not kind of make that more than it is.
Yes, it is really hard. And I think for people who are in long-term committed relationships, it's hard too, because it's so easy to take things for granted or to feel like the grass is greener, or things develop for people at work. It's like somebody's seeing your partner for the first time, right? The way that you maybe saw them 20 years ago, they're new to somebody else. They're shiny to somebody else. And that is very intoxicating for people. We all want to be seen and appreciated. And you go home to your spouse who's known you for 20 years.
Well, but the other side of it is maybe we're starting this journey of getting more healthy and fit, and our spouse isn't necessarily joining us in this mission of being healthier, of wanting to be there for our grandchildren, really being a better person. And so they're not seeing us the way we're seeing us. And now someone else is seeing us the way we want them to see us. So recognizing that difference in who we are today versus what we were, as the mother of their children or the father of their children, or this guy that's been around for 20 years and now, we're actually doing something positive for ourselves and feeling good about ourselves. And so not taking those other comments and saying, okay, I need to build something else, but recognizing it. So I really appreciate this one. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think we could probably talk about just that for an hour, because I think so many people do struggle in relationships. And it's true. It's like, you might be in a partnership for a long time and feel like I want to make a shift for myself here because I want to, I want to be healthier, I want to be stronger and mentally, physically, in many different ways. And your partner might not be in that same place. And, you can't ever do it for somebody else. It's like everybody's got to do their own work and, make their own choices. And if you're talking about shifting things in a healthy direction, like you can't ever force anybody. And, as a trainer, and I know as a teacher, it's like, the motivation is there. Somebody's hit that point where they're like, enough, I need to make some changes, or they haven't. And if they haven't, they're not going to stick with it, So it's the same across the board, I think, in relationships and work and the way that we take care of ourselves. The last one is non-possessiveness, aparigraha, non-hoarding, sort of like, I think culturally we have this whole comparing and contrasting thing where we look around to figure out, well, how am I doing? How's that, how's my neighbor doing? How's my best friend doing? How are my peers doing? And then I know where to like sort of rank myself, and it's such a trap because there's always going to be somebody doing better and there's always going to be somebody behind you. And it really is not relevant. It's like, you have your own journey and your own trajectory and it has nothing to do with anybody else's. And I think we tend to have, the messages are coming at us all the time. Well, if you have a bigger house or more money or a faster car, or a smaller dress size, you're going to be happy. And the truth is, those things might give you momentary happiness. But if you're looking for like sustained peace and inner, feeling comfortable in your own skin, that's inside work. That's inside work. And I think it's a trap for so many people that they chase happiness and they keep thinking, I'll be happy when X. And then that X never comes. It's never quite enough. So that's the fifth one. The niyamas, second limb, they're called observances. And the first one is purity, cleanliness, saucha. So the body's the temple, this idea. And like, what are you putting into the temple? How are you taking care of your body? And so you can think about it in terms of diet, certainly. You can think of it in terms of your external environment. When you walk into your house, is there clutter everywhere? Because it's really hard if you're trying to create more sort of peace on the inside, and you walk into chaos, not so easy. So again, like each niyama has several different layers and things that you can be looking at. The second one is called santosha, contentment. And it's similar to what I was talking about before, like non-hoarding. Training your mind to keep looking at all the things that you do have that are going well, not to lose sight of that, to recognize your good health is a gift if you have it, and the people in your life whom you love are gifts, and waking up in the morning is a gift, and having a place to call home and having food to eat and running water and just, all these things that we tend to take for granted, to really try to shift that so that we're coming from a place of abundance instead of lack and fear. And then the third one is tapas. And that has to do, and I'm sure you're going to relate to this too, with hard work and discipline. And, fire, the idea of tapas is fire, like the fire that's required to show up and work out on the days that you rather like hit the snooze button or get on your mat when the couch is calling to you and you want to binge watch Netflix, to say to yourself, you know what, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to get my body moving because I know if I do that, I'm going to feel great, and making yourself kind of show up for yourself, having that discipline. The fourth one is self-study, svadhyaya. It means to know yourself, to be willing to look at your patterns, to figure out if there are things that you're doing that are, again, like weakening you, to be clear about what's motivating you, to be clear about what you want, what scares you, what excites you, what inspires you, to really know yourself and to understand, do you have things from your past that you need to look at so that you can clean up your present and set yourself up for a good future? So knowing yourself. And then the last one is it's called Ishvara Pranidhana, and it means like devotion to something bigger than yourself. And, some people get really nervous, if you say the word God. So, it's like, you don't have to, that isn't what it has to mean to you. It's just recognizing that you're part of something that is a lot larger than just you, So that's the first two limbs. I'm trying to do this briefly. The third one is asana. That's the physical practice. That's, what a lot of people recognize as yoga. It's the poses. It's the getting on your mat. Now there's a lot in there that we could talk about, maybe later, but while you're on your mat doing these poses, they're focal points. So each pose, there's a particular point in space that you're looking at. And in doing so, you train your mind to do one thing at a time instead of, multitasking. It's the same skill that you need if you go to a busy restaurant with a friend and you want to hone in on what they're saying instead of, being constantly distracted by the chaos around you. The same idea. So the things that you're practicing on your mat, you can take out the door with you. And I know that we want to talk about those tools today. The fourth limb, see, I'm getting there, pranayama, which means breath work. And so prana, the translation there is life force, and yama means control. So when you get on your mat, the foundation of the physical practice is the breath, the inhales and the exhales. And so we're consciously lengthening and deepening the breath. And there's something called ocean sounding breath, ujjayi breath. And the reason that there's so much attention focus on the breath is because even right now, like as you and I are talking, if somebody's listening in and they decide, I'm just going to feel myself breathe in and pause, and then I'm going to feel myself breathe out and pause. You become present when you do that. The breath is happening right here, right now. And so that is a really huge way that you can quiet your mind. And same thing if you're having a conversation with somebody, noticing your breath is not going to make you less present. It's going to make you more present. You're going to be aware of how you feel in this moment and of what this other person is saying to you. The fifth limb is called pratyahara. And traditionally, classically, it means withdrawal of the senses. But if you break down that word, prati means away from, and ahara means food. And so it's not that you get on your yoga mat and you're moving away from, ice cream. It's ahara, meaning like, what thoughts are you feeding yourself? What ideas are you feeding yourself? Our attachment to like our really strong likes and dislikes. I'm this kind of person. I would never do that. I always, to let go of that a little bit and allow yourself just to be as you are. And maybe you're going to be surprised.
I want to drill into ahara because that was a concept that I would appreciate.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that's important. There was a quote you had in the book that I thought was, if there's no other reason to buy this book, buy it for this one quote. It's, if you start to treat your body as the gift it is, it shifts the way you feed it.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt.
And I thought that quote was worth the price of admission. If you didn't read anything else in the book, that one quote would change everything in your life. If you recognize the gift that you are, you would change everything. But not just what you feed it, but you would actually change everything. So I do want to stop you on that one because I really did think that one was special.
We can definitely stop there.
Well, no. I want you to go to the others, but I did just want to make a point of going there because, I know that, you're doing a great job of taking us through these. And I honestly, truly appreciate it that you're doing this for us because this is awesome. But I wanted to stop here just for that one thing because I really did think this is a key point in someone as they're listening to this, is to sit there and say, okay, I understand my body's a gift and I appreciate it. If I really appreciate it, then I would
take care of it.
Feed it better. Yes. I would feed it better with what I tell it, and I would feed it better with what I feed it, actually with food. So again, I wanted to slow you down there because I really thought that again, being a fitness guy.
Yes. Yeah, no.
I only get 3% of your time. So if I'm only getting 3% of your time, this is the rest of it. This is really the rest of it right here.
It really is true. I mean, for me personally, I'm always kind of like astounded when I stop and think about the fact that there are, about 7 billion people on the planet, and there's only one you. There's only one me. Like, there's never been another you. There's never gonna be another you. You're it, And to me, that is truly remarkable. And I feel like those odds are so incredible and so amazing that, that's right. See, your dog is barking to the tree.
No. I'm going to tell you what's happening right now, because this is fascinating. Okay, I have a German Shepherd, and we have a Poodle Ocelopso mix. So you have a 4-pound dog and a 70-pound dog. Now the 70-pound dog is laying on its side because it's the only way that it can really actually do this, and it is literally play fighting with the Poodle Lopsopso.
So cute.
Like opening its mouth, putting its mouth over the whole head of the dog and growling. And then, there was a moment where it over scared the little dog, and the dog had to squeal. So I'm sorry. Those are the moments in life, the being present and understanding. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do two things, which I shouldn't, but it was just kind of one of those funny things of my dogs are going to do what my dogs are going to do. And I'm really appreciative of the fact that my German Shepherd understands the little dog that it's playing with and actually still makes it fun for both of them.
It's great. I mean, this is the stuff that's, and that's, I talk about that in the book too, is like not missing those moments, it's like, it might seem like a small thing, but, I have those moments with my kids all day long. And that's like the joy in life, when you're paying attention and you're seeing these things and not kind of like distracting yourself or missing them. So
anyway, we've got 3 more of your paths to go through. So
we're almost done, actually. So the 6th, 7th, and 8th limbs are all related. Okay. The 6th one is called dharana, and it means uninterrupted concentration.
Well, I just failed on that one, but okay.
Well, you know what? You didn't. Nobody does it in every moment. But I think the thing is, when you're like disciplined and, you have something that you do, like you were saying earlier, I think it's important for everybody to find their thing. I agree. I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, yoga is the path. It's like the only, I think there are several, and it just, you've got to explore till you find the one that like lights you up, and then okay, this is my thing, this is like what I love to do, and this is the way I'm going to take care of my body. And it might shift too over time. I took ballet for 12 years when I was a kid, and I was totally immersed in it, totally passionate about it. And then for the last 25 years it's been yoga, and who knows, maybe it's going to be Tai Chi. I don't know, but it's just like, this is where it's at for me. And it has been for quite a while. And the reason that it is so for me personally, and so many people that I work with and that I know over the years, is that it has all these other added benefits that are so helpful in life. And so this uninterrupted concentration, for example, if you have a passion project, something that you're trying to put out there, offer up, being able to set aside time. People always ask me, I have a lot of friends who are writers, and some of them are, been writing books working on a book for like years, and like, how are you doing? You have 2 kids and you have a business, and, you have a yoga studio and an online site. And like, how are you doing? How are you finding, and I'm a single mom too. I'm divorced. And, so for me, it's actually, I think, and I'm not tooting my own horn here at all, I think the skills from like being on my mat for so long, when I have a 3-hour chunk of time, I use it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this 3 hours and I'm going to write, because if I don't do it now, I'm not going to get to do it later. There's not going to be an opportunity to do it. And I did not possess those skills like when I was in college. I used to wait till the last minute. I was like the queen of procrastination, and I would get it done. I was a straight A student, but I'd be up all night the night before a paper was due, or up all night, before a test. And I don't work like that anymore. Like now, because I can't, you have children, you're like, you got to get up in the morning and you have to be like at least somewhat coherent. And so I'm not up all night, so I feel like this idea of dharana, it's uninterrupted. I'm going to do this right now. And I think a lot of people, it's hard. It's like we have our devices and people set aside 2 hours to do something, and then they end up on Facebook, so how to direct your attention and how to choose what you're going to do with your time and energy. And that's the seventh limb, is dhyana. And it's often described as meditation, but it's kind of dharana. What I was just talking about, uninterrupted concentration, is like the beginning of dhyana. And dhyana is a state of being where it's like, it's not an effort anymore. So you sit down to meditate and the mind acquiesces, and you can just notice the breath. And that's beautiful. A lot of the time we sit down to meditate and the mind is spinning, running, doing its monkey thing. And that's okay too. I always tell people, when you sit to meditate, you're not trying to get rid of your thoughts, because the second you say to yourself, I don't want to think.
There's not a white elephant in my living room. And then what are you thinking about? A white elephant, so.
Exactly. So it's not that you're trying to do away with your thoughts or your feelings. In fact, you need your thoughts and your feelings. It's just that you want to be able to recognize that some of your thoughts are crazy, and you don't have to like buy into everything that you think. And some of the thoughts should just go by like, clouds in the sky, and that's fine. And what you're trying to do is just stay with the breath. And the eighth limb is called samadhi, and it's translated as ecstasy or non-dual absorption. So now you listeners might be like, wait, what now? But it's just being in a state of flow. That's really all it means. It's like you find that thing, whatever it is for you. Maybe, maybe when you're training, the hour flies by. You don't think one thought. You're not thinking about, what you had for breakfast or a conversation you have to have later. You're just totally immersed in what you're doing. That is what we're talking about, being in the flow.
Well, that's typically gameplay, and I think in gameplay, when you're playing a game and you're enjoying yourself, you lose yourself in it. And so we can choose the games we play. We can choose the way we approach things. And this is just a way for us to kind of live it in the moment, but enjoy it, because it literally absorbs us. And because you're flowing with it, you're enjoying it. And I just did a series not long ago that was on play, and I kind of went through the 3 stages of play: when you're a little older, when you're a little younger, and then when you're a baby. And literally how, if you're playing, you're not thinking about what's going on. If you're playing hopscotch, for example, all hopscotch is a very simple game. You should be able to think of 100 different things while you're playing hopscotch. But I can tell you, when you're trying to land that little rock on 7, you're not thinking about all these other things that are going on in your life. You're thinking about number 7. And then you're thinking about, okay, now I got to hop down, land on one foot, hop down. That's your mind. That's where you are. And you're in that moment. So yeah, I really appreciate this one too.
And that's part of, this again, like on the mat, so you keep directing people who are practicing to the breath, right? To the inhales, to the exhales. That's like number 1 thing, the focal point, number 2. And like, okay, where is your right heel in relation to your left arch? Like draw your navel in, relax the shoulders, extend through your arms. You keep directing them into the body. And so they're so immersed in my breathing, my focal points, and what I'm feeling, they're not thinking about anything else, details of the life. And that is where I think the peace comes in, and that's why people leave a yoga class and they feel, so good, because they had a break from all the craziness up there. So, most of us, the mind is like so full of should.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to admit, we had a lot more that I wanted to talk about, but in deference of your time, we're going to go ahead and move on. And what I'm going to say is this is an awesome book, because beyond the yoga practice of all this, you had exercises in the book that people could go through, a journaling exercise. And I'm a huge, huge fan of journaling. I wish more people did it, because if you really took the time to write down your thoughts and to answer a lot of the questions that are in your book, I really think people would really come to, one, love themselves a lot more, understand their weaknesses and recognize that it's normal.
Yeah.
And then actually just really kind of relax.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And that loss of stress, that opportunity to kind of just be. beyond that, just be, which is something I really think a good yoga practice. And again, I always thought of it as a physical practice, but more and more, and reading your book, I really appreciate that it's much, much more than a physical practice. It's a cleansing. It's a way to kind of build a capacity to just live a healthier and better life. And so, again, I really appreciate what you brought forward in this book. If someone wanted to reach out to you, and I hear your long guy in the background, which we talked about earlier, which is totally cool. But if I wanted to send someone to you to either get your book or to learn more about you, where would you like me to send them?
The website is yogisanonymous.com. So YOGIS Anonymous.
That's awesome. I love that. How did you get that? That we'll have to talk offline, but that's awesome. But okay, so yogisanonymous.com. And this is an awesome book. Yoga's Healing Power. And I really appreciate, Ali. I really appreciate you being on the show. Thank you.
Oh, I had a great time. Thank you so much.
If you enjoyed today's episode, would you mind sharing it with some friends and family? Just send them to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/145. Thank you. Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, we'll have Daron Hennock on the show to discuss his book, The Yoga Lifestyle. Until then, have a happy and healthy day.